Hey everybody, it is Sunday night and I'm getting ready to do a little bit of maintenance to my wife's tank here. Not a whole lot to talk about that I know of. We did lose the pineapple swordtail that was in this tank. Lost it about a week ago, I guess. And that's not really that surprising given how long we had had the fish, but we'll talk more about that on the other side of the water change. All I'm really planning on doing is pulling a bucket of water out of there, about 5 gallons. I'm going to change the filter pad, put new water back in, and I'll probably get in there and give the glass a little bit of a wipe down. Doesn't really need it, but at the same time, it's not a big deal to do it while I'm in there, and it'll certainly make the tank look a little clearer on the other side of this video. So not a lot to talk about in this part. We're just going to call this your before, and there's your after. So to address the swordtail real quickly, before we talk about what I actually did in the tank, swordtails like mollies and like guppies are all live bearers that are euryhaline, which means they can live in a wide variety of salinities or water hardnesses, degrees of dissolved solids, whatever you want to call it. Most people refer to that as a brackish fish, which is not exactly accurate, but it's close enough. And being that the swordtails are brackish fish, they can live in softer water than is ideal. Ideally, they should be in probably pretty hard water, but they can live in soft water. Now, I have very soft water, so when I get live bearers like mollies or swordtails in this case, I usually get about 3 years out of them, maybe 4 at the most. I think I had one. Now, that's not counting the ones I've put in my brackish aquarium. I've had those for much longer periods of time. But typically when I get a molly, a platy, a swordtail, even my guppies, I only get a few years out of them before they don't really hang on anymore. And that's because even though they are euryhaline, they do have sort of an ideal kind of water they prefer to be in. And as I've said, that's usually slightly harder water than I've got. And so over time it takes their toll. So I don't really get that really long lifespan out of mollies and guppies. So that's probably what was going on with the swordtail. It looked perfectly fine. It was all bright and colorful, and right up until the point where it was no longer alive, it was looking perfectly fine and normal. And then we came in one morning and it was in the bottom of the tank, just lying there. And that is fairly typical with when a fish's body can't deal with the water chemistry anymore. In this case, after several years, it had finally given up the ghost, I guess. That's my assumption. No idea why, but after several years, we no longer have the swordtail in here. Other than that, everything in this tank has been ticking over like a clock. Sorry, a little bit of swallow went down the wrong way there. Yeah, no problems at all with this tank. Everything's looking fine. When I pulled some of the floating water Sprite out, it did have a little bit of cyanobacteria growth, like sort of those mats of green that grow right underneath the light, kind of thick at the surface. So that may become problematic. When I got in there and pulled some of that out, that, of course, is going to spread it around the tank a little bit. I opened up the the amount of light going into the tank by removing a lot of the water Sprite that was in there. So now we've got light all through the tank. We took a bunch of tannins out of the tank, which also provides more light to the tank. And while I was in there, I wiped down the underside of the glass underneath of both of the light bulbs. A lot of gross green crud and stuff was growing all over that, and so I wiped that down, and that also gave us a lot more light in the tank. So chances are we are going to be seeing some algae or some cyanobacteria or something developing in this tank. Maybe not, but it would not be unexpected if we did see it. Of course, by the time it happens, I'll have forgot I said that, and I wonder why we're having an explosion of cyanobacteria in this tank. But if my predictions are correct, then we will probably be doing a video of treating this tank for cyanobacteria by the end of the summer, maybe this autumn. We might be seeing some issues arising, and we might have to get in here and start thinking about doing another chemiclean treatment. Other than that, not a lot to talk about. Just wiped down the glass, did the simple water change. I vacuumed a bunch of crud out of the bottom. And this is one of those tanks where you can see I've got the filter intake way up on the side there, so there's not a lot of chance of it picking up the mulm and stuff that settles down to the bottom. So this is one of those tanks that when I get in there with the siphon, I go around the bottom and I get a bunch of the crud vac out of there. I don't really scrunch it down into the gravel or anything. I don't do a more traditional gravel vac, but I do, you know, vac the stuff off the surface and swirl the stuff up around. I rooted through the Java fern there, and I got a bunch of the detritus that was trapped in the Java fern out and loose. As we saw recently with my 125 downstairs, those can accumulate quite a bit of crud. And so just a general water change like that, got a bunch of the dirt and filth and stuff out of there. When I changed the filter pad, the biofilter, you know, the black sponge part of the filter was really, really crudded up and was really restricting the water flow. Even without the filter pad in there at all, I still only had a little trickle of water moving through there. So I pulled that out, gave that a good rinse in the bucket, and then stuck that back in along with a new filter pad. And other than that, we just topped the tank back off, you know, filled it back up after the water change was over. And then I went and had dinner, and now the tank is nice and clean and clear, and there you are. So again, not a lot to talk about. If you got any questions about what I was saying with the molly, or the swordtail rather, there was a pineapple swordtail in this tank up until about a week ago. You know, hit me up down in the questions or in the comment section down below, and maybe we can do a, you know, video talking about that. I haven't talked about brackish water and hard water and euryhaline fish and stuff like that in a while, and my brackish aquarium is due for a water change, so maybe that'll be the topic of an upcoming video here in the near future too. So again, make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of that. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, this one here is my wife's tank, and I will see you real soon in the next one.